Good afternoon and welcome to Q Questions, our live streaming show where we pull back the curtain on Q, one of the most powerful trial presentation platforms in the legal world. We're glad to have you back here on Q Questions. Of course, we do this every week at noon, and I don't do it by myself. I'm your host, I'm Gene, but every week joining me is Rob. He's on Q's Director of User Development. Rob, we got a pretty interesting topic today, do we not?
Yes, sir, we do. And sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that we are not live to you today. We are streaming this as a recording. As we told you last week, we are currently, as you're seeing this, we are currently in Washington, D.C. And so we ran a poll last week, Gene, and the folks asked for trial laptops and what's kind of the top 5 laptops out there right now for 2026. And so that's the direction that we're going to go, if my understanding is correct.
It is. I thought that was a very good choice by everybody because that is a frequently asked question. What are your best choices for laptops to use for trials and, more importantly, with OnQ? So I know you got some insight on that.
Sure. Let's go. I want to put something up here real quick. Let's put up our top 5. I've listed them out so that people could go ahead and write down what they are. And listen, this is opinion, guys. This is subjective. If you have one that's better or you wanted to talk about it, that's perfectly fine and acceptable. But this is a subjective list. This is based on a lot of benchmark testing and things like that. So we're going to go through the top 5 laptops for courtroom trial work. Now, none of these would even blink at OnQ. OnQ would not take up enough system resources to make any one of these systems even bat an eyelash. All right. So number 1, the MacBook Pro 16-inch M5 Max. That is the M series silicon. It's preferred for courtroom work because it doesn't throttle the performance when it's unplugged. And the thing is, Gene, sometimes you're in situations where you may not be able to power up, or you're not going to be powered up for 30 minutes or something like that. And so if you're in those battery situations, Gene, you can get to where the M5 performs well. I have an M5. This is not the machine I have. I have the MacBook Air version of this, but you can look right there. This thing comes with an Apple M5 Max. It's got 16 cores in the CPU. It's got a 40 core graphic processing unit, 40 gigabytes of unified memory, and a 1 terabyte solid state hard drive in it. Now, I'll tell you, Gene, this thing would be the ultimate machine for syncing. So if you're going to be doing auto sync using Pro Sync inside of OnQ, this machine will chew it up and spit it out because of those cores. It really uses the core processor when it's doing sync. So the battery life's good. It has silent operation. There's no loud fans. And right now it's on sale for $3,299. The next one, this one's kind of a graphic workhorse, right? This one's really good for graphics, but it's also super good for just in general video work and things like that. It's designed to run in Premiere and DaVinci Resolve and things like that. And it has this cool Asus dial on the keyboard, Gene, that allows you to really fine tune things. This one, it's running the Ryzen AI 9. Really good processor there. 64 gig of RAM, 2 terabyte solid state in there. And it's got the RTX 5070 GPU. That's a good graphics processor there. Its military grade durability is wonderful for court. It's got touchscreen. If you want to use it for navigating your exhibits or whatever, you can. Price on that running right at $2,300, $2,299. That's a pretty good machine. I would look at a machine like that if I were saying, hey, I can't use a Mac. Like you, Gene, you just cannot use a Mac.
No.
And so you're a Windows guy. You've been a Windows guy all your life. You're not switching. This would be the equivalent to the number 1 that I showed on the Windows side.
And I like that military grade durability because you're having to tote this thing around, throw it in the bag, run here, run there, get it back out. So I'm kind of rough on them sometimes, man. I can kind of ding one up, so I'm liking that.
Well, that's why if you've ever seen the police, what the systems that the most law enforcement agencies use, they use those Panasonic workbooks, and you'll see those at construction sites. You'll see them police, fire, those people, because those things, they can take a beating. And that's exactly right. You know, when you're going like that, you want to make sure that you have something durable. Now here, look, this is the cleanest laptop you're going to get aesthetically, with high contrast text, graphic sharpness via 4K OLED display. This is the Dell XPS 16. Personally, not a Dell fan. Doesn't mean they don't make good machines. This one right here has the Intel Core Ultra 9, 285 hertz, the RTX 5060, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 1 terabyte SSD. It's just a small footprint, but it has a lot of power. Also, you know, Dells come with pretty good service. They come with pretty good contracts to be able to get a hold of somebody if something breaks. They're also easy to find power cords for. If you're in a situation where you leave your power cord, we've all done it. They're pretty good at being able to get a power cord sourced and or some off OEM that you could buy maybe at some box store somewhere. So that's something I always think about, especially like, for instance, with my Mac, I have the MagSafe power cord on it, and I left my power cord at home. And luckily, you just go to Best Buy and get a MagSafe cord. It's not a big deal, you know.
Right.
All right, let's look at the next one, Gene. Go back to that one though. This one's $24.59, regularly $2,800 on the deal there. This is the sale price that I found it for. Cheapest I could find online. And that's where I got these prices. You can get that directly through Dell or maybe even some other sources. Now, here's the old faithful. All right. I've always called them a stink pad, but the Lenovo ThinkPad P16 Gen 3. I've never used Lenovo's. I've never been a ThinkPad person, but I'm going to tell you, I would say if you put 10 veteran hot seaters in a room and said, pull out your laptop, I would venture to guess, I would say, this is strictly my opinion, I would think it would be like 6 out of 10 would have ThinkPads, because it's just, they go to them. I mean, it's what Equipped rents a lot of ThinkPads. Let's talk about this though. This is the gold standard for reliability too. They're reliable machines, make no mistake. This one's got the Core Ultra 7, 1 terabyte hard drive, the NVIDIA RTX 2000 Ada. This thing is pretty good. They've got a great keyboard. $2,149 on that one. Regular. I had to sneeze. Regular at $2,149 or $2,500. You can get this one for, you know, a couple thousand. Solid machine. Definitely deserved to be in the top 5. Last one is one of my favorites, believe it or not. This is the portable power machine. This is the Razer Blade 14 in Mercury White. This is a compact solution, doesn't compromise on power, and the Mercury White finish is very professional, very low profile. 14-inch screen, AMD Ryzen 9 in it, 1 terabyte hard drive, highly portable, can output to multiple 4K monitors simultaneously, no problems with that. And this is going to be what I would call your bargain basement right here. This is your $1,800, $1,900 laptop. Of course, this is without tax and shipping fees and things like that. But this would be your bottom of the barrel. Now, what I would do if it were me is I would probably have a high end. This machine right here would be my daily driver backup laptop. Right. So this is the one I'm going to be working on in the hotel room. I'm going to be watching YouTube. I'm going to be, you know, chatting with the wife, you know, doing all those things on, doing some of my bills, you know. But this machine is only going to get pulled out in court if the big daddy up top dies or something goes wrong. So those are the ones that I would take. Those are my top 5 right there. And I'll be more than happy, Gene, to have this as a downloadable file if somebody wants to look at it, and say which one and compare. I don't think you can go wrong with any of these,
No.
especially when you're in a situation where, you've got, money on the line and you're doing a job that is very computer intense. This is the one area you just cannot shortchange yourself. Penny wise and pound foolish is what I like to call it. And I just don't think that anybody should ever get themselves in a situation where you're underpowered. I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah, I mean, to circle back to something you said at the beginning, just to throw my 2 cents in here, like I've been, I'm certainly not a hot seater or anything of the sort, but I have been working with OnQ and learning it for the last 2 months. And the biggest thing that has amazed me, because for all of its features and capabilities, like you said, it does not weigh on your system. It is a very light piece of software, and it's pretty amazing. And so any of these that you just went over, like you said, it's on Q, you're not going to have a problem. Now, if you want to do a bunch of syncing, all right, those cores are important to make that happen as fast as you probably want them to.
Right.
But any of these will still do syncing. It's just a matter of how quick do you need it. But great choices there, Rob.
Yeah, man. I just I never want to be caught unaware, and I never want to be caught short. That scares me more than anything. And don't get me wrong, early in my career, I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. So my first ever laptop that I bought going out on my own was a Sony Vaio. And I mean, it was really at the time all I could afford. But I paid dearly for that once I started getting into some bigger stuff to do, you know what I mean? And it was like, oh, this is not good. This is not good. And so that's the thing, I would just say, take a look at those. And hey, there's many others out there, folks. I didn't mention, Asus has their Strix line, which is wonderful. Razer stuff is great. If you're, MSI has some stuff, Alienware. I just never ever wanted to look gamey in a courtroom, if that makes sense. Like when my laptop, I remember I had a 3-year deal with Toshiba, where they would provide me laptops for free as long as I would use the laptop in court, because they thought juries and people in the courtroom are seeing me put up video stuff and complex video stuff like animations and things like that. And the first thing you can think is, well, my laptop would never do that. I wonder what laptop that guy's using. And they can at least see that big Toshiba logo and kind of go from there. And so I had to deal with them for like 3 years, and they were sending me the best of the best stuff. And good machines. But they started sending me gaming machines where they had all the LED colors on the back and the graphics and things like that. I have always shied away from that. The Republic of Gamers Asus line, for instance, I've just always tried to shy away from that, just because I don't want the jury to know, or anybody in the courtroom for that freaking matter, to know anything about me, what my interests are, what my likes and dislikes are, because I don't want them to even know I'm there. And so the less attention I can draw to myself, the better. And so give me a solid black laptop, or give me a cream white, that whatever, but I don't want anything that's all gamey. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. LEDs in the courtrooms is kind of tacky. Like that's attention you don't need there, I would assume. So
well, and I sacrificed when I went to Mac, I sacrificed a number pad on my keyboard. I'm so used to having a number pad, and now that I don't, I've gotten used to not, but I would always get something and extend a little bit of product space for having that number key. That 10 key is, man, that thing is fabulous to have. So, well, I think that's where we're going to go. Ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, if you have questions on this or you want to ask some questions, we're going to be back next week. We're going to be back live with you. And so if you want, get those questions ready. You can always send questions to support@onqtech.com, support@onqtech.com, and just put in the subject line Q questions. And if you have a question, we'll get it in, and then it will get funneled to the right place, and we'll get those in there for you. And so next week, Gene, we're going to be back to Q questions. And I think one thing I want to talk about is next week is I want to get into a little bit of what kind of equipment we're carrying nowadays. What are we carrying into the courtroom nowadays? Because that trial bag over the years has shrunk significantly.
Yeah.
Because I think the days of DEFCON 5 sitting over there running the Starship Enterprise are over. I think now people are trying to come with just give me a laptop, pair of speakers, I'm good. Walk in and do that. So I think that's what we'll talk about next week. So hope to have everybody there, and thank you to everybody who's watched us. Gene, take us out of here.
All right. Thank you all for joining us this week, and we look forward to you joining us again next week live right here on Q Questions.